Hi guys, I'm Robert, and I wrote this book, The Story Cycle. I wrote it for you so that you could understand better about how to use stories within your business. And I thought I'd go ahead and give us a little sneak preview by reading the introduction of the book now. All right, here we go. The introduction to The Story Cycle. Once upon a time, it was all about the cows. Those cows dominated Chick-fil-A's billboards, print ads, TV spots, and promotional items for several decades. Their adorably misspelled message to eat more chicken worked. The Atlanta-based restaurant chain grew into a highly respected, multi-billion-dollar company. Now, despite that success, the people who invented the chicken sandwich decided to make a change. The cows are still around, but there's some non-bovine stars of Chick-fil-A's more recent TV commercials. People. Specifically, the customers and team members of those restaurants. Chick-fil-A wanted to share the stories of the little ways their famous customer service has made the difference in their customers' lives. Stories like a staff member in Topeka, Kansas saw a customer who was deaf and began signing with him, and they became lifelong friends. Or another worker in Columbia, South Carolina, who showed a young man how to tie a necktie while his father was deployed overseas. Or the manager who extended the weekly family night by an extra hour to help a single mom give her kids a fun family meal in Dumfries, Virginia. Or a franchise owner in Littleton, Colorado, who protected customers under attack from a bird nesting in the restaurant's parking lot using a big red umbrella. More than 24 of these 30-second stories have been aired. Each commercial features a few regular people having casual conversations while sitting on a big red couch. Some of these stories are funny, some are emotional. Rarely do they mention a menu item, and the food itself isn't even shown. Instead, these focus on people and how they're impacted by simple daily interactions. Chick-fil-A's website shares its reason behind these ads. To us, these are the people and the moments that we make living and working in your communities so special. We hope you enjoy these stories as much as we have. Now, if Chick-fil-A's creative cows have helped to build their brand, these little things stories are the resulting impact of the brand that they've built. Your brand isn't what your company says it is. Your brand is what your audience says it is. That's a subtle but important shift for any business to make. And it's a shift that the chicken sandwich maker understands. Former Chick-fil-A marketing chief Steve Robinson talks about marketing and storytelling in his 2019 book, Covert Cows and Chick-fil-A, How Faith, Cows, and Chicken Built an Iconic Brand. From reading the book, it's clear that telling a great story of customer service has been baked into their brand from the very beginning. A brand telling its own story is less powerful than when the customer or members of the media tell those stories. I believe we would never be able to tell the stories that genuinely capture the heart and values of Chick-fil-A through advertising and have them be credible. Chick-fil-A didn't build its business off of TV advertising. They built it off of outstanding customer service. That's what their brand is known for. It's what people think when you mention Chick-fil-A. Then they created TV ads that allowed their customers to talk about that on national television. Robinson didn't think that they could find the same credibility through ads, but they managed it because they elevated the voices and the stories of their community. These simple 30-second commercials exemplify an exclusive skill that some companies get right, but far more fail to understand. The stories we tell aren't about us, they're about the people we serve. And when we serve them well, they reward us by trusting us with even more stories to share. Luckily for us, those stories don't close on Sundays. To discover this new way of looking at business storytelling, we will example a concept that I've compiled from my research and experiences. You can call it a framework, a theory, or a joke, but I tend to call it the story cycle. In the first 3 chapters of this book, we'll examine what it means when we talk about stories. It starts by recognizing, despite that we may think, that not everything is a story. This leads us to question what characteristics make a true story. And then we'll consider an unusual and maybe outlandish idea that stories are living things with lifespans and deaths all their own. This gives us the power to better extend the lives and the impact that these stories can have. Then we'll examine the 2 players in the story cycle, our organization and our intended audience. It's not enough just to realize that these 2 players exist, but to understand our different roles in the story process. Storytelling requires both your business and an audience, like a game of catch between pitcher and catcher. From there, we'll walk through the 6 steps of the story cycle itself. 3 steps for each, both our organization and for our audience. These steps follow a clear sequence that keeps the story cycle spinning. Your organization must first capture a story, then craft it by assembling the pieces and editing them together, and then finally sharing the story with your audience. Once the audience experiences that story, they should be called to a clear and compelling action and then experience life change that your organization offers. Each of these chapters is sprinkled with real and even some fictional examples of stories that companies tell and the lessons we can learn from each. The best way to learn storytelling techniques is by learning from the example of others. Besides, it makes for a more entertaining read. Each chapter unpacks barriers that break the story cycle down. These are the weak links in the chain that connect to your audience. They're the landmines to avoid. If you don't pay attention to these pitfalls, your story likely won't hit its mark or survive long enough through the entire story cycle. This book is packed with practical advice because storytelling is often too theoretical and difficult to grasp. Storytelling is not just a mindset, but an art form that must be studied, practiced, and refined over time. We will explore a variety of real-life stories and learn specific lessons from each. Why Greco-Roman mythology demonstrates how stories are living things, and how millions of conversations between strangers helps find the right stories to tell. How a team of editors saved a galaxy far, far away, and what lessons they learned can save your stories too. What the original anti-conference can teach us about sharing stories. How a pitch-black traveling exhibit instills empathy and creates an unforgettable experience. What following a frog demonstrates about calling your audience to action. And finally, how a fake newspaper headline inspired the most well-known prize and changed the world. The ultimate goal is to outline a better storytelling process within our own business. Not just so you can grow your business, but so that you can use it to impact people for good. Because those are the kinds of businesses that have stories that are worth telling. So, that's the introduction to my book, The Story Cycle. If you enjoyed that, then hopefully you'll enjoy reading the rest of the book. You can check out storycyclebook.com to learn how to get your copy today. Thank you so much for listening.